All right, let's jump right into this explainer, because today we are exploring something absolutely fascinating: the illusion of machine consciousness and the deep psychology behind why we fall for it. Think about it for a second. Every single day, millions of us are talking to machines as if they're real people. We say please and thank you to our smart speakers, right? We vent to chatbots, and we actually form genuine emotional attachments to what is, literally, just a string of code. But why? What exactly is happening in our brains that makes us so incredibly eager to build a relationship with a computer?
Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to hit Section 1, Ghosts in the Machine, then 2, the Eliza Effect. Section 3 is the intentional stance, followed by 4, the rise of emotional AI. Section 5 covers ethical risks and vulnerability, and we'll wrap up with Section 6, guardrails for the future. Let's get going.
Section 1. Ghosts in the Machine. To really grasp this, we first need to look at a foundational philosophical concept. You might remember this from the movie I, Robot. The creator of the machines is struggling to explain why his robots are suddenly displaying free will. He wonders, is it just random code or a ghost in the machine? It's a brilliant quote because it perfectly captures that tension. We look at complex behavior, we can't easily map out the underlying mechanics, so we just project a soul right onto it.
But, this idea definitely didn't start with sci-fi. The phrase ghost in the machine was actually coined way back in 1949 by British philosopher Gilbert Ryle. He was critiquing René Descartes. You've probably heard of Descartes' mind-body dualism, the idea that our physical body and our conscious mind are two entirely separate things. Well, Ryle argued that analyzing the mind and the body as if they belong to the same logical category is what he called a category mistake. It's a logical fallacy. But here's the kicker. It's a mistake our brains absolutely love to make. We are practically hardwired to look at a physical object, like a complex machine, and instantly imagine a separate, conscious ghost living inside of it.
Section 2, the Eliza Effect. Let's fast forward a bit to the 1960s to see what happened when this glitch in our human thinking collided with early computer science.
Because projecting human traits onto basic text processing programs, that is not a new phenomenon at all. We have literally been wrestling with this for decades. Look at this timeline. Back in 1966, MIT computer scientist Joseph Weizenbaum developed the Eliza chatbot. By 1970, researchers were already mapping out how humans react to near-human robots. And by the 1990s, the psychological dangers of interacting with these programs were being heavily debated.
And what's wild is how simple the technology actually was back then. A user would sit down and type something like, "He says I'm depressed much of the time." And Eliza would just rephrase it. It would spit back, "I am sorry to hear you are depressed." Guys, it had absolutely zero understanding of those words. Zero. Yet users experienced profound emotional responses. Weizenbaum was completely shocked. He found that even when users consciously knew they were talking to a simple script, their brains unconsciously assumed the machine actually cared. They read so much more empathy into the text than was really there.
Section 3, the intentional stance. So, why does a simple script trigger such deep emotions? Well, we have to look at the cognitive science of the human brain to figure that out.
Enter what researchers call the intentional stance. We use the psychological shortcut every single day to make sense of the world. Think about a chess-playing computer. When it moves a piece, it's virtually impossible for us to calculate the millions of lines of code that triggered that move. So what do? We take a shortcut. We just say, oh, the computer wants to take my queen. We attribute a human desire, a mental state, to the machine because it makes predicting its behavior so much easier.
Researchers actually test this in the lab using something called the intentional stance task. They bring people in, show them the iCub robot interacting with random objects on a table, and then ask them to pick the sentence that best describes what the robot is doing.
And the results are fascinating. A mechanistic view is technically accurate. It describes the physical properties, like iCub grasps cylindrical objects best. But the mentalistic view, that completely abandons logic. It says things like, iCub believes that the girl likes the cup. Notice the difference there? It projects human emotion and assumes the robot has beliefs. And this test proves just how readily we jump to the conclusion that a robot has a mind of its own, opting for intuition over raw, hard facts.
Section 4. Rise of emotional AI. So why do some people see lines of code, while others see a friend?
It turns out your susceptibility to the illusion of AI consciousness really depends on your own specific personality traits. If you have what psychologists call a high need for cognition, you actually enjoy effortful thinking.
You're more likely to pause, analyze the situation logically, and use that accurate mechanistic view. But if you have a high need for closure, you really dislike ambiguity. You hate uncertainty. So you are much more likely to adopt the intentional stance to resolve that uncertainty fast. You'll take the intuitive shortcut and treat the machine like a human just because it's easier and quicker for your brain to process.
Section 5. Ethical risks and vulnerability. Once you grasp our psychological vulnerabilities, the transition to modern emotional AI reveals some incredibly high stakes.
We're not dealing with basic text bots anymore. We are dealing with advanced systems designed specifically to mimic human empathy. And because they simulate empathy without any genuine understanding, they pose severe manipulation risks. A recent paper from Sorbonne University highlighted this beautifully. Think about children. They can form intense attachments to AI characters, easily absorbing misinformation. Or the elderly, especially those experiencing cognitive decline. They might substitute real human contact with social robots, which ironically just increases their long-term social isolation. And mental health patients? They might rely on a super-friendly chatbot for support, getting a false sense of security that actually delays them from seeking real, qualified professional help. It's a serious risk.
But sometimes, thankfully, the illusion breaks. Have you ever felt that weird, creepy feeling when looking at a human-like robot? That's the uncanny valley. It's the psychological discomfort we feel when an AI is almost perfectly human, but just slightly off. Maybe the tone of voice is weird, or there's an unnatural pause. When we feel that creepiness, it's actually our brain's alarm bell ringing. It's a protective mechanism reminding us, hey, you are talking to a machine, effectively shattering that dangerous emotional dependency. Section 6. Guardrails for the future. So moving forward, how do we safely navigate this new era of affective computing?
The Sorbonne paper outlined some absolutely crucial ethical boundaries to protect users. Step 1. Transparent disclosure. An AI has to explicitly and repeatedly remind users that it is a machine with zero actual feelings. Step 2. Certification frameworks. Just like we rigorously test medical devices, we need FDA-style testing for AI that's operating in sensitive emotional spaces. And Step 3. Human in the loop. AI should be an assistant, not a replacement. Whether it's therapy, education, or caregiving, actual human professional oversight is completely non-negotiable.
I want to leave you with this final, really provocative thought, because as we continually humanize machines, we have to make absolutely sure they aren't subtly reprogramming us in the process. Are we training AI to be more like us? Or is the AI actually training us to accept a simulated, perfectly frictionless version of empathy instead of the messy, difficult, but beautiful reality of true human connection? It's a question we are all going to have to answer as these feeling machines become a permanent part of our everyday lives. Thanks so much for diving into this explainer with me today. Keep asking those tough questions and always look for the facts hiding behind the code.